What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at the best attackers in FIFA 23 and giving them all a rank. Starting off with a top boy, we're going with Abide Pele. Could definitely do with an upgrade. Comes in as a cam, but definitely can be played in their more advanced roles. Most definitely a very good player nonetheless from the very start of the game up until now. Personally, I'm going to go with the A+ tier for him. We then have our man Cruyff. Again, you can't argue with him. One of the best icons you can physically get. Every version of him is absolutely insane. The 5-star works really well, and there is no other position other than the S tier for him. Gareth Bale, a beautiful super sub. A little bit harder to link if you don't have a lot of MLS players. Obviously, in terms of the Welsh nation, again, not really a lot of demand for them in a main team. So firstly, for me, he is in a super sub role, but he does that absolutely effortlessly. If I was looking at the list, I think by the end of it, he definitely would be more in that A+ for me. We then have our man Team of the Year Haaland. This card is just an absolute dream. Still so expensive, but for every right, he is just an absolute machine going forward. He scores everything. He has the physicality. The pace is very nice on this card as well. He is just very much an ideal striker in this game. Obviously, there is no other position other than S for him. We're looking at João Felix next with his winter wildcard, and definitely the best version of Felix at this moment in time. Obviously has moved to Chelsea, so we could be seeing some different cards that would add a better value in terms of that prem tax. But this card down a wing is absolutely beautiful. Very quick, nice on the dribble, has a decent shot. Obviously with a chem style you can add a bit extra for him, which is always nice. But I think he's definitely one that is a solid option if you are looking for your team. For that, we're going with the A+ still. We then have Ibrahimovic. And I think with Ibra, there's only one word really to kind of describe him, and that's just a unique sort of striker. I would say very much like Haaland in terms of the body stature, obviously the physicality side of him. He's got decent pace, to be honest, and definitely the Centurions added their next value for him. We've always seen a top-end Ibra at some point in the game if it means to be footies, but now we have a Centurions, and I think for me, just purely based on the uniqueness, he is that S tier sort of striker. SBC Correa, 89 rated, comes in with his new, obviously, plus showdown card and is an absolute gem if you manage to get him done. He will absolutely destroy defenders, and I think he's very versatile with obviously being able to play the wings and also that striking role to some extent. I feel like you've got to have a good game strategy with him because he's not necessarily known for having that massive amounts of strength, but definitely can hold his own in that striking role. For me, he will stay in that A tier. Eusebio. Prime Eusebio is a gem. As we know, mid-tier is the bottom tier out of the three, and honestly, even then, still millions upon millions of coins. The 93 is absolutely just ridiculous. You put him through on goal, and he just does it. And you see it a lot with these million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million coin cards that they just somehow manage to go through. You can tackle him once, he'll win the ball back. It's just a thing that happens with these sorts of players. I don't know what it is. You just get a little bit of luck with it. Eusebio himself, though, incredible shooting, pace is fantastic, dribbling's fantastic. He is an absolute goal threat, and for that reason, he's always in the S. Di Natale, an incredible striker. In the Serie A, still one of the top players, even though he was absolutely, from the very start, he could definitely do with an upgrade now, but even so, that 88 is still a dynamite up front. He still rocks it in the Serie A, which is always nice. Pace is always fantastic, dribbling, shooting. He's just got the natural striking ability. I do think, yes, he could do with an upgrade, which more than likely we'll see before the end of the game. For right now, we'll keep him in that A+. From one hero to another, Ginola is next, and this guy is... It's Ginola. Everybody knows him. If you've been playing the game for at least the past 2 years, you know what Ginola's all about. We got the 98 last year right at the end of the game, so hopefully we do see that same card again because he is just unreal. Still in quite a few people's teams if they have managed to get him with that 500k pack that gave you a guaranteed heroes. Obviously with Ginola, the 5-5 is always S. Ben Yedder Centurions. I believe he is getting a player of the month at some point soon, so it's going to be an interesting one to see where that card kind of stands up. I can imagine him to be the same rated now because he got an inform last week, or I think, yeah, last week or this week, either one. He managed to get an 88, which means the player of the month has to be at least 89, which means you can basically get him for untradeable. So the Centurions will soon be the tradable card, and obviously the player of the month will be in a lot of featured teams. If it's me, I personally like Ben Yedder. He plays to my style, he works really well, and you can pick up and play with him. For that reason, we are going to keep him in the S for the moment. From one French to another, Griezmann is next, and honestly, he's just dynamite up front. He really works well. The stats are well balanced, the dribbling's good. You obviously go with the Hunter if you wanted a lot more pace. He's got the passing ability as well, and then the finishing's very good. I don't think you could ask for a better version. Obviously, when we do get a high-rated Griezmann of 91, 92 plus, he's always one that people would actually love to go get. The team of the seasons we've had over the years have always been fantastic, and that is down to in-game ability and the stats he provides on a wide spread. And for me, I think he sticks in that S as well.
Are you tired of using players like this? I would much rather have teams more like this. Then I recommend going over to skycoach.gg for all of your coaching and coins needs. They are cheap, fast and reliable, but at the checkout make sure you are using code JT11 for a discount on your orders. Back to the video.
There's very little to say about Hullet because we know how good he is. 15 million coins or 14 million coins worth of a player. You don't get that sort of value to be average or even just very good. He is top of the top and is always on everybody's want list. From his mid to his prime to his team of the year icon, Hullet is always in the S. Dembele Winter Wildcard. Again, a lovely 5-star. You can't argue with the skills on him. He's got the pace. Do prefer him more out wing personally rather than that strike and roll. So with this card personally, I do like in-game to change him over, as obviously with his Winter Wildcard you don't have an alternative position as a right wing, I believe. But in terms of what he can do on the ball, it's very skillful, very nice. Obviously needs a bit more of a finishing. I would say at the moment, A+ is where it'd stay. Then we have Team of the Year Mbappe. It's very much like Hullet, very much like Cruyff, Haaland. There's little to say about him because he's absolutely elite. Coming in at a very premium price, the finishing's unreal, the shooting, the pace is unreal, as well as everything else on this card, and is always got to be that S. Prime Eto'o. So I'm trying to be a little bit more stricter with my ratings with these because I feel like I put so many players in that S tier when they are, well, they should be reserved for the absolute best. Eto'o still comes in as one of them top players for me. He's got the pace, he's obviously got the shooting, the dribbling's good. Obviously passing could do with a bit of work, same as physicality, but you can't always have everything. But I mean, for Eto'o, every version has always got that pace sort of element to it, which is always perfect for the wide variety of players because it's a very normal game style. It's not like Ibra, or it's not like, for instance, someone like Harry Kane who has a specific style. He can work with a lot of kind of skill sets and do very, very well under that. But I think during the rescheduling of obviously all of the ratings, he will stick in that A+ for the time being. Team of the Year Benz. So the last, or I think penultimate one for Team of the Year. I think we've still got Messi somewhere. 97 Benz is always fantastic. We like a player that is like Harry Kane, like Benzema, like Lewandowski. When they're in their 90s, when they're in their 91s, they're good and they definitely have a certain set. But once they hit them Team of the Seasons, Team of the Years, footies, they hit the 95, 96 and above. That is where they personally, for me, always come into their own and are viable options. Team of the Year is always a good one because you know you are so far ahead of everybody else if you are looking from average to good. Obviously, still not going to compare to Cruyff, Mbappe, Haaland, Ben Yedder. That just is a standard. Them players are elite of elite. Benzema, at the start of the game for the lengthy element, was brilliant. We saw that turn him into just a player that everybody wanted. Now that's gone, he needs another upgrade. The Team of the Year was absolutely perfect. And for right now, especially with players catching up, he will go into that S tier for one more time. On to Harry Kane, talking about Benz. We've got his Team of the Year honourable, and honestly, there is a certain playstyle to actually work with him. I do think in terms of what we've got already in the A+, I would much prefer a lot of them over him, which is where my decision's going to be based. But if you can use that hold-up striker mentality, get him in on the box, make him just being able to have that one-touch shoot, that is where he's really going to be absolutely dangerous, because we know his finishing is incredible. The pace is a little bit lacking, but you go with a Hunter, you go with an engine or something, it will boost it up dramatically. But I think for me, I'm going to go in that A for right now. We then have Jesus as a winter wildcard. Still not seeing a bigger upgrade from this, but an 89 Gabriel is very, very nice. The 5-star weak foot, I believe he has, I don't think it was skills, is just an absolute gem for him. It always adds a value when you get a weak foot skill move upgrade, especially if it goes from a 4-4 to a 4-5, or even better yet, a 5-5. That normally is foot birthday sort of promo, so I cannot wait to be adding some additions of them into this big tier list. But Jesus coming in nice, got great pace. Obviously the shooting's already good, being a striker naturally, and he's had a lovely boost on that dribbling. If I'm looking at the A+ tier, I'm thinking he reminds me very much of a Felix-esque sort of card, and both of them did come in the same promo, which is always jokes, as well as Dembele as well, who I personally would like on the right wing also. So for that, we're going with the A+. Adama Traore. Again, we go with the winter wildcards. We actually got some really nice strikers and a very good variation of them, which is always perfect, because promo after promo, we do seem to get the same sort of players. Even looking at this tier list already, you could see the same players everybody goes with. But Adama has always been a generic, brilliant super sub. Very little element of him to be a starter, but personally for me, he's a super sub, and he does absolutely wonderful at that role. His pace is absolutely unreal, the dribbling's good, shooting wise is a little bit lacking, but definitely better this year in terms of the conversion rate from what I've personally seen. For that, I feel like we've got to just stick him in the A if he's not going to be a starter for me. Now, I'm not going to pronounce his name because I personally don't know how, but this card is a Georgian left wing from... is that Napoli? I want to say that's Napoli. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's right, but we'll go with it anyway. Let me know if I'm wrong, because I can't remember that badge. But in general, this card is a beautiful future star. Coming in now at a very mild price, to be honest, $500,000 to 600,000. I think he's definitely dropped to the point of where I'm like, yes, that is the price for him, and I would definitely pay that for him. Would I say he's the best future star we've got? Most definitely not. We've had some absolutely insane ones. We can already see a couple already with Adeyemi, Alanga, Mudryk. We then also got an Alvarez, who I rate absolutely highly. And I think for that, I'm going to stick him in the A+ for right now. Team of the Year icon David Beckham. A beautiful upgrade for him. Definitely makes himself on the map again, which is always perfect, especially with a lot of these Team of the Year icons. They have made players that just are not relevant at all and put them in the spotlight, which is always nice. David Beckham being a great addition to this lineup, and he really, really settles in nicely with some of them top cards. I do think now he's kind of settled the dust a little bit. The price is quite expensive because the supply just wasn't there during Team of the Year, but I still think he's absolutely incredible, and he will sit in that A+ with the rest of them. Then we have a back to the heroes in El Waran. This card took the game by storm, honestly, was just an absolute monster going forward. Definitely more of a striker than he is a cam, even though I feel like you could play him in a very advanced role, left wing, right wing, cam striker, but I do think you'll get the best out of him in that striking role. Obviously, he's got to be sitting in that the S tier easily. Now we see future star Alvarez, and honestly I have to do him straight away because he is one of my favourite Prem strikers. He works so well. It's a great addition to future stars. Obviously, if you manage to get a Team of the Year Haaland, you get them pairing, it's just an absolute joke. You put him with any of these top strikers and you have got a formidable 2, even though he could definitely play a solo striker, which is always perfect. I personally play with 2, but he is just a monster going forward. Great pace, dribbling's good, shooting's good, even just his general prowess on the ball is fantastic. He's so quick on that turn, it works really, really well. And obviously, there is no other position other than the S. We then have Cantona, the 93 prime French centre forward. Again, I feel like there's a lot of people with him that personally have either a good relationship or bad. I still think he's absolutely insane. Definitely the base version and the mid are slowly coming out of relevancy to some extent, whereas when we look at Cruyff, Eusebio, R9, the top end sort of icons, they do necessarily keep their value even in their previous versions. I do think you could still use his base and mid, but his prime is going to be the one that you definitely want to go for now. Personally, the S tier is always where he's got to be, and he is just an absolute machine forward. Future star Alanga. He is a very cheap option if you are looking for a Prem winger. Definitely coming in with some good stats. The composure on him could do with a little bit of an increase, but unfortunately that is where it's going to sit for right now. The price, like I say, is very nice in terms of 100, 200k right wing. Obviously, if you are a United fan, then that is going to be a great addition to the team. Pace is great. Obviously, shooting could do with a bit of an upgrade, same as passing, and the dribbling normally comes in very nice as well. I do think he is a little bit lackluster at times, but I think for right now, he's definitely going to sit in that A tier at the moment, with the rest of them being very good above him. We then have Brolin, the beautiful 89 World Cup, who is just an absolute sensation going forward. We managed to pack both of the versions, so we've tried both of them for quite a few games, and he does really well. The pace is really good, he gets in and behind very nicely, and the finishing just sets him up perfectly. He is one of them cards that if you personally didn't have one of the S tier strikers, he would definitely be in a lot of the teams. For me, I'm going to go A+ still with him though. 91 Aubameyang. So we've got the Chelsea Gabon striker. He has been in the game for quite some time now, and honestly, he's starting to lose some sort of relevancy in what you can kind of get from him. In terms of the pace and the shooting, it's very nice. Always been good. He's a taller striker. He relies on that massive pace increase to be able to keep up with anybody, to be honest. But now we're starting to see these taller strikers, Ibra, we see a Benz, we see a Lewandowski coming forward. Now it's kind of getting to the point where he needs an upgrade again. The dribbling, the physicality side of stuff just needs that next level to keep him popped up and in them top sort of categories. So for right now, we're going to be whacking him back in that A. Team of the tournament, Di Maria. A beautiful SBC if you managed to do him. Left wing, 90 rated. Honestly, I feel like he's often a super sub for a lot of people, and I do think he's definitely a starter as well. If you can roll with that Serie A Argentinian links, he can work really well on that wing. Personally, we go with Terrier just to balance out the chem throughout my entire team, but Di Maria most definitely is a sub at half time. The pace he brings is really nice. He's got a great finish on that left foot, especially if you do whack something like a Deadeye, a Hunter, or even a finisher if you wanted more dribbling on him, but he definitely comes in as a top winger in general. So for me, going in that A+. Next up is going to be my man Govu. Again, I feel like he definitely was more relevant at the start with his hero, but I still see him today in them kind of mid to top tiers in FUT Champs and Rivals, and he definitely comes off still very nice in front of goal. Striking ability is good, the pace is good, you've got good dribbling. There's not much more you can ask for from him, and obviously has the French links as well, which is always going to be perfect going forward, and I think he's still got that relevancy, so we're going to keep him in that A+ for right now. And following up, Diego Forlan. There's very much to say about him. He is just brilliant in front of goal. I don't know why, because the stats, very standard, but he just works really, really well. His pace just is lightning. It feels way better than 90. Obviously, with a certain chem style, you're going to get a bit more from him, but his finishing ability is incredible. He always is scoring on me, and definitely one that can be put in front of goal 9 times out of 10 to get you a goal. A+ is where I'm going to go with him, though. And we might as well finish off the trio with the World Cup heroes. Joe Cole, left mid, can be left wing. Obviously a very attacking sort of player. The pace is good. Definitely a little bit less than Forlan, Govu, Brolin, but I do think he's on that same level. I don't think he's quite El Waran, but then I don't think he's like El Jabba. I do think, for me, he still comes in at a respectable rating. So for me, I'm going to keep him in that A+, and I do think later on he might drop down. We then have Garrincha as the 94 right wing, very much top end, as we already know. Could definitely look at some sort of new icon for him. A 95-96 would be really nice to see from him. He definitely is top of the field, does have himself a Jairzinho and a George Best just breathing down his neck for that top spot. And I think all of them have different qualities, and I do think Garrincha's got to be in that S for me. Then with Jairzinho taking the steam, I do think this card definitely, even though he's technically 2 ratings off Garrincha, 1 off Georgie Best, personally has been my favourite this year. A great addition to the Brazilian icons, comes in quite nice, and he did manage to get a mid version of his SBC. I think for me he's got to be S with them. And then we might as well finish off the trio with a George Best as well. The 93 right wing, it was always Garrincha and him battling it out. The one thing that George Best has over both of them though is the alternative position for Bestie Boy is a left wing, so you can technically have both of them on there. If you went in like a 3-4-3, you could technically have all three of them because Jarzinho and Garrincha can both be right mid as well, and you could have Georgie Best on that left wing. So I think for me, that's a great trio if you wanted some very high-end sort of wingers. All three of them I would say are S tier though. Thierry Henry, 93 rated prime, was definitely tipped to be getting a Team of the Year icon. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, which I think could have been the saving grace. But I feel like if they added that extra balance to him, he would be a top-end striker. He'd be in the conversations with Cruyff, with Eusebio, because that is the only thing that lets Henry down. Year after year, it's the same. Because obviously stats do stay the same, that is normally what kind of holds Henry back, unless we got a game that balance just wasn't a thing. That being said, still very, very good, and we'll go in that A+ easily. Then we have Robbie Keane, another great World Cup hero, a little bit expensive from the SBC, but from what we've seen, very, very much worth it. He definitely has that ability going forward, the pace is nice, the shooting's good, and he just naturally holds onto the ball and manages to find a way through. For me, I feel like if I'm looking at Govou, Forlan, Brolin, he's definitely up there with them sort of players. Harry Kewell, we're going to another World Cup hero because there's so many of them, and honestly I do like this card. I feel like for me he's definitely portrayed better than what people kind of already rate him from what I've seen from other tier lists and obviously other people's opinion across FIFA. He's not necessarily used as much as I believe he is very good. Looking at him, thinking, does he fit in with Keane, Cole? Does he look at Brolin? Then we look at a bit further down. Do we look at Lundberg? Do we look at obviously Aljaba? I do think he's better than a lot of them. Then he's kind of in that same sort of bracket as Forlan. So I think for me, if I'm going to be really brutally honest with him, I'm going to go in that A for him, but I do think he has that potential to be pushed up one more if he just had that little bit better stats. Foot Centurions Mahrez, an 89 winger, an SBC that was semi-expensive. I feel like Prem tax always comes into some sort of existence with him, but he's done absolutely wonderful down the wing for me. I definitely don't think he's S tier. I feel like that sort of category of wingers, are we looking, is he going to do the same job as Jarzinho? Is he going to do the job as a Messi, as obviously then a Garrincha or Best? I don't think he's up there, but then we look a bit further down. Felix, Jesus, do we then go further down than Alanga? I feel like he definitely fits more in with Dembele, Felix, Jesus, rather than Alanga. So we're going to stick with the A+ with him. Then we have some road to the finals, some brand new cards into the game. We've got Martial as the 89, and honestly, I do think this card looks an absolute source machine. He's a brilliant sort of striker, and if Man U do manage to go through the Europa a few ratings, he could end up really, really nice. With Man U definitely not necessarily the favourites by any stretch, but with them potentially going through, we have got Barca as a big, big round breaker there. It could be a nice card in the last sort of stages. For right now, if I'm taking him off face value, 89 rated, great pace, great dribbling. The shooting, obviously with a chem star, would be absolutely top end. Don't think he's necessarily on the Ben Yedder or the Haaland sort of level, but definitely comes in just a little bit under in that A+. We could see a higher upgrade for him though, if they do manage to go through further and further, so we'll keep an eye on this card. And finally we spotted Messi, 98 rated Team of the Year. Just unreal. We can't argue any more than just S tier for him. We're not going to spend too much time because we know he's incredible. Then we have a road to the final, Malin. Again, not a bad striker to be honest. We managed to get a loan version of him and try him a few times out in the road to the final cup. And honestly, pace-wise is really good. For a more stockier build sort of striker, 84 shooting's definitely not going to be the most incredible amount of stats from him, but he definitely can put up some numbers if you are looking maybe at a Bundesliga squad. I think if I'm judging from the strikers we've got on this list, he's got to be in that A at the minute. Maybe we drop him down depending on the rest of the tier list. We then have Morientes as a World Cup hero, and I think judging again quickly from all the other World Cup heroes, he definitely has that ability that sometimes he just works in a game. I've had games where he has been dynamite. He's scored every single chance. He's managed to run through. His pace definitely exceeds what it shows. but then I've also seen him absolutely nowhere to be seen, not managing to shoot, can't get past defenders, and it always comes down to the player, obviously, but I do think as a general ability, he's starting to now lose it in comparison to the team's upgrades we've been seeing over Team of the Year. So for that, we're going to stick him in that A tier. Mudryk, Future Star, one of my favourites. We definitely had some great fun with this card. Still very expensive, which is always a good sign because we normally see players drop dramatically if they are not up to scratch. So I think the demand is definitely there for this card. Where do I think he's going though? If we're looking at left mid, left wings, even if we say right wings because we can judge on a wing play, I do think he's better than Felix and Jesus. He's got that just dynamic drive to go forward. Finishing was always nice, but I do think this card is at the moment, in my opinion, especially how I've played with him, going into the S tier, but I do think once we get a few more upgrades on some players, he could drop down very, very quickly. Mane's one that we've just not seen this year. Obviously, he took his move to Bayern, and I think that not necessarily didn't break his career in terms of actual football, but in terms of FIFA, it took him off the map. Obviously playing for Liverpool in the Prem, he was absolutely brilliant. We got them links. Previous years we managed to get the chemistry style links, which is obviously always very, very important. This year not as important, but I think for me, there's very little Bundesliga players I ever see in people's teams, especially at the top end. So he kind of takes that hit because realistically you need Bayern players because you're not going to find too many Senegalese players that are going to be in that top sort of category. The only one I can really think of as a top category right now is going to be Koulibaly. You have got Mendy as the keeper, but again, he's only an 86 at the moment, and I can imagine a lot of people are rocking Team of the Year keepers, Team of the Year icon keepers, or just generically better players overall. So if I think for me, if I'm looking at Mane right now and assessing everything, I would say A at the moment. We have a beautiful Nene up next and definitely could do with an upgrade from this. We got the Foot Centurions 91, which is an unbelievable card. Any version of Neymar is always very, very nice. We normally see, hopefully, a player of the month by now, but unfortunately, I believe he is injured at the moment, coming in from today. So it might have to be that we see potential team of the season or, unfortunately, footies, which is so far, far away, which is crazy. But this card is always coming as an S. Neymar's ability on the ball is second to none. Future Stars Adeyemi, the 90 rated Dortmund striker, is lovely. It's a great upgrade. He's got the pace, as we can imagine. He's obviously taken a storm in going forward with ratings, and hopefully we do see him in the next few years really hit his potential going forward, because I think especially at the moment Bundesliga, like we said with Mane, is just forgotten about a little bit more. With obviously the German links, he's going to have a few more options, Toni Kroos being a big one out of the league, so he does have them options that definitely work for him. But again, how many German players do you see in the top teams or even just in a generic team overall? If we look at the list right now, there's very few Germans in there, so he's going to be actually, I think, the first one in the striking ability, and that just kind of tells you straight away. Other than that, you're looking at Neuer, you're looking at Toni Kroos, like we said. Maybe Schweinsteiger as his World Cup version was quite a nice upgrade. Other than that, there is very few that you are putting into your team. Adeyemi on himself is going to be in that A+ though. We now have Nunez, the one to watch, and honestly is in definite need for an upgrade. He started off the game really well. I feel like now he's slowly losing his rhythm. The shooting's not becoming as good. The dribbling's losing its track. He's obviously still got a good amount of pace, but unfortunately he is slowly putting himself more and more down until he gets another upgrade. I believe it's actually an 87 rather than an 86, so that needs to be upgraded. We will do that for next time, but even an 87, he definitely needs a double upgrade at the minimum to put himself back on the map that little bit more. For that, we're going to be putting him into the A, and I think if in the next few weeks he doesn't manage to, he will start to drop down even more. JJ Okocha, the 89 World Cup hero. Honestly, to start with, I thought, what is the hype around him? He was over 1 million coins. I tried him out and I wasn't impressed. So you know what, I was like, okay, fair enough. It may not be my cup of tea. Since then, coming back to him, actually, he's very, very good. I must have been in some sort of rush. It might have been the opponents because we've used him a fair few times since, and I definitely see the need for him. He is sensational going forward, and I can see why he's held a very, very good price. He's not necessarily one I see all the time, as obviously you've got to find the links for him, but he just works really, really well. And I think for me, if I'm going off everybody else's opinion, as well as the second time rather than the first using him, he's definitely in that S tier. Rule breakers, Ribery. It's either one or the other. You've got the rule breakers or obviously the SBC version of him. Both of them are 5'5". Ribery has always been elite and has been since, I think, from the very first FIFA, to be honest. He's managed to come back in the Serie A rather than in his Bayern setup, and he's still adding absolute numbers to this game. He just does not stop. I feel like if he managed to get a team in a season of a 94-95, he is S 100%. For right now, we're going to keep him a respectable A+, and hopefully we get a bigger upgrade in the future. CR7. He managed to get an inform last week, and it's so wrong to see him in not a Man U shirt anymore. But it is the reign of Ronaldo in the Saudi League, and I do think, even though I feel like a lot of people just don't like him in this game, I still absolutely rate him. His ability on the ball is still as good. Yes, we don't get the 97 vibes anymore. We don't see him in the team of the year. But his ability in-game is still Ronaldo-esque. It's very good. His shooting's brilliant. He still drags players out. You whack a hunter on him and he's absolutely fine for pace. I still personally think of him as a top tier. It's probably the last year that we will see him at the top tier, unless he does manage to get like a flashback next year, which would probably make sense to keep him in there. But I still think of him as an S tier player. World Cup stories, Rashford. So he has been on fire. I could not be happier for the lad, but his World Cup stories is the one that we're rating now. We've got a player of the month, which was an 87, and I believe he's already started this month off with a very, very good start for plenty of goals and potentially another player of the month back to back. If we do manage to get that, I feel like that is definitely going to be the start of Rashford to get even higher, and hopefully it reaches an 89 rather than an 88 if they wanted to. But in terms of Rashford, he's had a weak foot upgrade on this card, and he's good. He's a very, very good card. Would I say he's S tier category? Do we look at him and think Mudryk? Do we think Alvarez yet? I don't think he's quite there yet. I feel like he's just one under and definitely in the same sort of ranks of a Di Maria as a Martial. He's definitely there in the A+. Dimitri Payet. I love this card. This card has been an absolute fire merchant for me. The SBC was cheap. He's coming in with the Santa hat, which is always a great dynamic, and he works really, really well at that striking role. I will say that he's probably under threat with Ben Yedder coming as a player of the month, but definitely would be a super sub nonetheless in my team personally. And that is only because Ben Yedder is Ben Yedder and Mbappe is the other striker. If it wasn't for Mbappe or Ben Yedder, he definitely would still be in that striking role for me. And I think for that, he's got to be that A+ as the minimum. Then I have Winter Wildcard Politano. Just looking at all of the Winter Wildcards, I realise how many great forwards we actually got. Not necessarily all S tiers, but definitely players that could be in a top team nonetheless. If you've not got the millions of coins for a Ginola or a Hullet or a Team of the Year, you're definitely looking at a very good set of players in that Winter Wildcard setup. He's got incredible amounts of traits. His pace, his dribbling is very nice. You add a dead eye onto him, and honestly, he is a wonderful, wonderful forward, and he's going to sit in with that A+. We then have Dalglish as another icon. Again, very little to say about him. He is very good going forward. A nice, easy pick up and play sort of striker. He just manages to get the goals. He's got the dribbling as well. He's an easy one to put in that A+. Same as Dalglish, Butra, another cracking card. Icons are pretty standard now. I probably will take them out of the tier list just to give a little bit more breathing room to the actual players that can change. We know every single time where these icons are going. They're pretty standard. They very rarely change, so it is likely that we take them out to give a bit more breathing room in all of these players. Unless we get, for instance, a Team of the Year icon like Beckham, we might add a few of them in as they come in for 1 week and then take them out the next, so we can get more of the players that actually can change. Can we see an Adama in another version, a Martinelli, a Chiesa? So for me, Butra is a standard, is an A+, and potentially the last time we're going to put him in this tier list. Future Stars and Nketiah then. He is a lovely Future Stars, again very much like Alanga. It's a nice upgrade, he's definitely got a little bit about him. Whether he's going to be in that top category is another question. I don't really see him on the same level as Adeyemi. I definitely don't see him as Alvarez sort of level, so I feel like he's definitely close to that A+, but I think the A is personally where I'd go with him, just purely for the fact that I could just judge him based on the other future stars. Sonny Baby is up next with I think it was a Road to World Cup I believe he got, and he's got a 91 left wing. That definitely is a very, very good card, but Son is like a lot of these kind of old standing players now. We could do with another upgrade. Yes, we are still now waiting for the team of the season, the FUT birthdays, because we've had team of the year. We've got a selection, like a very, very small selection of top rated cards. It just makes you want to see your Salah at a 96. You want to see Son as a 95. You want to see Aubameyang as a 96 as well. But unfortunately, all of them won't come just yet. And more than likely, a lot of them won't come until at least FUT is. But Son's definitely in a respectable A+ at the minute still. Bobby Firmino, the highest priced Road to the Final you can currently get, a 91. He is coming in at 1.7 mil, a 5-star, 4-star, which is always nice. And I do think he is a good card. Whether I think he's worth 1.7, other than the fact that he can be upgraded, and I believe he could reach a 95, 96 if Liverpool was to go on to win the Champions League, which is a long time away, but definitely that ability of being upgraded will give you that higher value like we see with a lot of them. That is just always a big thing for him. You can get players that are not guaranteed a rating, but like Atalanta a few years ago, they managed to just push through and get it. With obviously Liverpool, could we see them going through a round? That would obviously depend on the price for Firmino, and I think in general, their stats are nice. I don't think personally they're S tier, but definitely got to be in that A+ at the minimum. Lucas Moura Road to the Final now. We've got an 88 right wing. Again, 200,000 coins, 4-4. It's a pretty standard right wing, to be honest. If we're looking at him in terms of stats, the pace is always good for Lucas. We've got great dribbling, as we already know. The composure is semi-good. We've got okay shooting and passing. Definitely could do with some work. In terms of an actual right wing, definitely doesn't sum up to Garrincha. Even Jesus, I feel like you've got a lot of options with Felix, Dembele, Jesus. We then go further for Beckham. We then see, I think, Mahrez. Other than the upgrade ability, which we're not going off right now, because that always is a big bonus. But for right now, I feel like A is probably where I'd go with it. Raspadori Road to the Final. Honestly, not a bad card. For a Serie A sort of centre forward, you're looking at a very, very nice card here. Left mid cam striker is his positions, is extinct at 190 at the moment, and is a 4-star, 5-star. That, I mean, you can't argue with that. Good pace, obviously with a chem star you're looking at better. Shooting, dribbling both 87. Passing not as much, but if we go in with a hunter, that personally would give you 96 pace, 93 shooting. Honestly, that's not a bad card whatsoever. Do I put him in the same level though, because we're thinking striker's going to be his sort of role? Do I see him as good as a Martial? Do I see him as good as a Ribery, a Brolin, a Keane? I'd probably say he's just under at the moment. I feel like with an upgrade he could definitely get there, and he's one to definitely look at if he does drop in price. But for right now, I feel like he's in that A. Rafael Leao, a beautiful phenom, a 91 striker, and he just oozes absolute class. Definitely as a striker, one that took the kind of phenoms by storm and really put his name on the map with that card. And I think for me, that card is definitely still going to be in that S at this moment in time. Back to the honourables, we've got Vinicius Jr., a 91 left wing that this year has been brilliant. He's managed to get a couple of cards which has led him to a 91 rating from an 86 gold, and most definitely a team of the season would be outstanding from him. If he could just get 1 or 2 more upgrades from now until then, we could be looking at a 97 to 98 Vinny at a minimum. So that is a brilliant card to look forward to in the future. Very much like Neymar and Ronaldinho, the dribbling's absolutely exceptional. The finishing's good. I feel like it could definitely get better with obviously more upgrades, but pace dribbling is what really carries this card, and he's got to be nowhere other than the S tier. Winter wildcard St. Max then. 87 rated. Again, very much dribbling based if anything. I feel like he definitely comes in more in that A+ personally. I feel like the dribbling is really good on him, but I do think he doesn't go up 1 rated, but I wouldn't necessarily put him down just yet. Maybe once we've got a couple more cards, he might see himself slip into that A. World Cup Valère. Again, another great player. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people really, really rate this card. I loved his normal hero version, and I definitely think the World Cup version just got even better, which is just perfect for him. I think it's a 2 rated upgrade from an 89 to a 91, and he definitely comes in as a top end striker. The question is, do I rate him as much as Leao? Obviously then we're looking at Alvarez, Haaland, Mbappe. I feel like he's close. He's very, very close. If I'm kind of going for them sort of players, if I did the classic, who would you pick? Alvarez, Valère. I'd go Alvarez. If I go, Ronaldo's a bit of a hard one because I do think Ronaldo's in-game ability is better than what the stats show, but I think I'd still go Ronaldo in my personal opinion. So I would go with the A+ with him. Smolarek, very much like Valère, very, very elite. I do prefer Valère personally, but Smollarek's in-game is incredible. He just manages to just go through, get the strike on, his pace is fantastic, and he gets goals easily. But I do think A+ is still where I'm going to keep him. Road to the final, Chiesa next. 88 rated. We've had an 87, I want to say, out of position for his right wing. We've now got him back on that left wing at just over 500,000 coins with the ability to go up. Incredible pace, as we know. Shooting could do with a little bit of work, and we have got some dribbling on him, which works really well. I do think he's definitely got the ability to get up there in them top ranks, but for right now, we will keep him in that A+, as I don't really see him any better than your left wings and right wings we've already got. Then we have Team of the Year Honourable Saka, the 89 right mid. Beautiful card, absolutely rapid, good finish on him, dribbling's good, a solid card, and a nice kind of look forward to what we could get from Saka, especially going into the later stages of the game. This is a very, very nice card that comes in relatively cheap, which is always perfect. He's definitely solidified himself in the A+ as a minimum. Centurions Salah is up next, a 93 rated worth of absolute genius. Definitely could do with another upgrade from him. I feel like he's still very, very top end, but personally for me, I've always liked Salah at the very end rather than the kind of middle parts of him. With right wings, there's a lot of players that have that pace, have that shooting and dribbling, and can do a lot with it, but I think for Salah, he doesn't necessarily break into the S tier for right now, but would still be at a very top end A+ at a minimum. If we got a 94, 95, I could see him going in that S. So I don't know why we've got Richarlison 88, even though we've got the 90. I'll try and put the 90 on screen so you've got that one instead. But 90 pace was an SBC, obviously expired in February? Wow, okay. Oh no, we've still got him. Of course we do. 28th of February, we've not even passed that yet. But 90 pace, 88 shooting, 89 dribbling, 450k. It's a bit steep personally in this market right now. I feel like in terms of a striker, absolutely standard. 90 pace, 88 shooting, 89 dribbling. There's nothing really too special there. It's a 4-star, 5-star, so he's automatically got to be in that A+, but I do think that is a standard striker. If we were looking at price efficiency, he'd be in a B tier 100%. But as he is a 90 rated with a 4-star, 5-star, it's got to be in that A+. Martinelli coming in with a good card. A 90 rated left mid. Obviously can be upgraded, which is always nice. Incredible amounts of pace. Lacking a little bit on the shooting. It's mainly shot power and long shooting that really take the hit there, which is always going to be nice for an upgrade to get him even more in that sort of level. But for right now, 90 rated, 830k. Obviously the price is more for the upgradability of him, but I do think a 4-star, 4-star is coming in the low end of the A+, I'd say. I think if we were kind of looking maybe a little bit less on that pace, he'd be going into that A, but the fact he can be upgraded and he's got the potential to go up more, I'd probably say A+ is the bottom tier at the moment. We then have Ferran Torres as a road to the final. Again, a pretty carbon cut out of a lot of players, to be honest. We've got the wingers, and they are identical. Pace is good, dribbling's good. Obviously, the shooting's normally semi-decent. With Torres, to be honest, he has got a nice amount of shooting, good positioning, passing's good as well, but he does have incredible dribbling with 90 composure, which is better than most, to be honest. Again, with an upgrade, this card could really put himself in a topper tier, most definitely. I feel like, again, like Martinelli, probably would prefer Torres over him, just purely for the fact that 90 composure comes in very, very top end. And then finally we have Terrier. The Foot Centurions SBC was a very good SBC for me. I do think he is dropping down a little bit now. He's probably hanging on by a thread for that A+ for me, but I do think he's still gonna be just in there until maybe we get another version, probably of Terrier, to be honest, that manages to trump himself back up. But I think at the moment I'm kind of dwindling between an A and an A+. For right now, I'm gonna say A. I'm gonna be really brutal with him because I've definitely noticed over the course of the past few weeks / month, he hasn't been doing as much, and I've been subbing him off at halftime every single time. And that is going to be your tier list for today. Let me know down below if you did enjoy. I'm going to show you a rundown of obviously all of the categories right now. Just go one more in so you can see a little bit more of a bigger version. Obviously with this, I feel like there's definitely some players that we can add, and icons we will be taking out next time round, as I feel like they are standard. We know where they're at. I've got an icon tier list especially for them, so they will be taken out, and we'll be adding more and more players into it that can be considered top-end attackers. So let me know down below what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all for the next one. Peace.